The United States has accused Russia of actively working to undermine the enforcement of UN Security Council sanctions against North Korea. In an open session of the Council, Ambassador Nikki Haley labeled Russia's sanctions systematic and called out Moscow for what she said was a concerted campaign to cover up violations of sanctions, whether committed by its own citizens or those of other states. China and Russia had earlier suggested the Council discuss easing sanctions on North Korea after talks between President Donald Trump and leader Kim Jong-Un.
Despite an era of rapprochement between Washington and Pyongyang, the United States does not believe the time has come to start easing stiff Security Council sanctions on the DPRK and accused Russia of cheating.
The question one should ask is why? Why, after voting for sanctions 11 different times, is Russia now backing away from them? We know the answer. It's because Russia has been cheating. And now they've been caught. Despite its repeated support for UN sanctions, Russia is actively working to undermine the enforcement of the Security Council's sanctions on North Korea. Its violations are not one-offs. They are systematic.
She went further, charging Russia of violating caps placed on North Korean oil imports and refined petroleum products by facilitating ship-to-ship transfers on the high seas, specifically naming a Russian vessel, the Patriot. She says helped North Koreans evade the sanctions by allowing them to obtain oil without having to dock at a port because their vessel was subject to a global port entry ban as per the UN sanctions. She says North Korea has obtained over 800,000 barrels of refined petroleum products in the first 8 months of 2018, well above the annual 500,000 barrel cap that is allowed.
We presented evidence of these violations to the 1718 committee that tracks sanctions implementation. But Russia prevented the committee from declaring that North Korea exceeded its oil quota. Today, North Korea continues to illegally procure refined petroleum products with the help of Russia. Not only that, when we pursued UN designation of the Patriot and other North Korean, Russian, and other country-flagged ships that have been found to be illegally transferring oil, Russia consistently blocked these designations in the Sanctions Committee.
Moscow rejected assertions it was in violation of the sanctions regime, but argued strongly that punitive measures could not be seen as an end in itself.
Restrictive measures which were introduced by the Security Council resolutions against DPRK cannot be an end in itself. They have to be an instrument and tool in order to involve the country in constructive negotiations. Resolving the nuclear issue of the peninsula through just sanctions and pressure on Pyongyang is impossible. Sanctions cannot replace diplomacy.
China called for Council members to remain united on the issue, while the United Nations informed them that there continue to be signs the DPRK is maintaining and developing its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.